that gentle satirist, Mr. Bob Newhart. Oh, you cross that leg, I'll cross this one. OK. You arrived only yesterday, Bob. Do you have some special way of beating jet lag?
Not really, no. I may fall asleep in the middle of the interview, but we live in L.A., so we flew from L.A. to London, which I think is the last time we're going to do that, because it just... you find yourself wide awake at 4 in the morning and falling asleep at 5 in the afternoon, and it's awfully hard to catch up. Yeah, I mean, how these people have stayed up this long is...
You're right, it is fairly late for us, English. Talking of that, now, we like American comedians, as you're well aware. What is the American view, Bob, of British humour, the sense of humour?
Well, I think there are a lot of stereotypes certainly about Americans. We're supposed to be ugly Americans when we travel overseas, which is partially true. I mean, there's an element of truth in every stereotype. The British are supposed to be very slow on the uptake of a joke. And they tell a story in the States about an Englishman, and please forgive me, I don't do a good English accent, but there's no other way of telling the story. I'd have to make it a Chinese accent, and then it would lose all meaning. An Englishman arrives in the States at JFK, and he gets in a taxi cab, and the cab driver turns to him. The cab driver was from Brooklyn. He says, you enjoy riddles? And the Englishman says, yes. Actually, the riddle is my favorite form of humor. He said, well, my mother had a child, and it wasn't my brother, it wasn't my sister, was it? Well, let me think now. He said, it wasn't your brother, wasn't your sister, I couldn't imagine. He says, it was me. Oh, of course, it would have had to be you, wouldn't it? So he gets back to London, and he's at his club, and he turns to a friend of his, and he said, I heard an amusing riddle when I was in the States. My mother had a child, and it wasn't my brother, and it wasn't my sister. Who was it? And the other Englishman said, I couldn't imagine. He said it was a cab driver in Brooklyn.
It cleaned up quite well, didn't it?
But my humor has been described more English than it is American. I mean, the successes I've had have been quite a few in England and in Australia. There's something, it's the understated, not quite hit him over the head kind of.
Yes, that's what we like. Your accent's actually very good. Is that something you pride yourself on?
Well, I think all comedians kind of, we're observers, and we kind of pick up sounds kind of easily, you know.
Sort of parrot thing.
Yeah.
When I was in Somerset, during the war, when I was evacuated, a man came up to me and he said, I bent I for it, I wangler. And I said, what? He said, I bent I for it, I wangler. And I never found out what that meant. You might be able to use that when you're...
I have no idea what it meant. What?
Well, that's the end of that one.
Oh, awesome.
But you talked about the American abroad. Are you, in fact, very aware and ever embarrassed by your fellow countrymen over here?
Well, I have a friend who is not well known over here. His name is Don Rickles.
Oh, yes.
And he's an insult comedian, and they don't quite know what to make of him overseas. They don't quite know what to make of him in America, but they especially don't know. But Americans, we assume when we go to a country other than England that everyone speaks English underneath, that there's a very thin covering over their brain of their native tongue. And if you are able to speak loudly and slowly, you can penetrate this very thin covering, and they will understand exactly. Now, also, all you have to do is put L in front of bathroom, and they immediately know that you want to go to the bathroom. La bathroom would be, of course, that would be bathroom in French.
That works, doesn't it?
Also, we have a great deal of trouble with money, because it doesn't look like our money. And most Americans we just hold out whatever we have on us and say, is that enough? You know? You need another deer. You need a bird or a deer. 2 birds and a deer. All right, go ahead, take it.
That's it costs you a lot of money that
Yes,
way.
we come back.
Yes. But actually, you've come to England at the right time with the dollars at the moment doing pretty well.
I didn't want to. It is making it easier for us to figure out what prices are.
You brought your wife with you,
But you
didn't
brought that up. I didn't.
Yeah, quite.
I didn't.
Oh, we're brave. We've had 2 wars. We're okay. No, you brought your wife with you. Does she still laugh at your jokes? Because you've been married a long time.
22 years, yes. Yes, my wife is, I had the good fortune to marry a woman. She's also up in the hospitality room tonight, so I'm not going to get foolhardy. She's kept me very level. Whenever I started to get carried away, she would say, look, you're not that great, you know, and which is good, and she's a rather unusual woman. She tends to talk to, we go to see movies, and she talks to the actors on the screen. And I know that she can't be heard, and the other people, we went to see Papillon with Steve McQueen and Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah.
About Devil's Island, and they announced, as they were taking him into Devil's Island, they announced that if you tried to escape, that was all right, they'd pick you up and put you in the hole for 2 years, but if you tried to escape with a gun, that they would kill you. So if you try to escape, don't take a gun. So the movie went on, and Steve McQueen and Dustin Hoffman plotted this escape, and Steve McQueen took this gun, and my wife stood up in the middle of this crowded theater and yelled out, "They said don't take the gun!" People on either side of me turned around, and I pretended I wasn't with her. You know?
Yeah. It's interesting. It's always women that do that. I was in the cinema once, and a woman, stranger to me, suddenly leapt to her feet, an old lady in Cardiff, this was, in Wales, and said, "This film's an insult to my bloody intelligence." And it was good for her. Very strong, I thought. These days, of course, you're an actor, but are you still then on the lookout for material for your one-man shows?
Oh, yeah, I still write. We have a... I wrote something recently. I had to go to my daughter's, had a function, a fundraising function, and I had to get up and say a few things. And I don't know if it's true in England, but it's a phenomenon in the States that they have what they call crazy teachers. I never had them when I was going to school, but I'd question my daughter. I'd say, Jennifer, you got a minus, you got a C minus. And she said, well, Dad, okay, Dad. That teacher is crazy. That teacher is really crazy. And then she will ask her girlfriends, Liz, Gabrielle, isn't that teacher crazy? Mr. Newhart, that teacher's crazy. She said, Dad, she will test us on things we've never studied. And she'll give us tests on subjects she doesn't even teach. I mean, she's a crazy teacher. And I went to the headmaster, and he confirmed it, that there's a federal law that they have to hire, I think it's 1 crazy teacher for every 200 students. Otherwise, they lose their federal funds. And so they were looking for more. He said, if you hear of any crazy teachers, please let us know.
And what about this Disney strike recently? That must have been rich pickings for you, wasn't it? That kind of daft situation?
Well, I thought it was funny because I kind of pictured, they had a strike at Disneyland against Disney, and I kind of pictured the strike vote, and seeing all the famous cartoon characters that we had associated from our childhood at the strike vote, and pictured the chairman of the strike committee saying, all right, before we vote on the strike, any of you have anything to say? Yeah, way in the back. You can take this job and shove it. Thank you very much, Snow White. Okay, okay, all those in favor of a strike, raise your right hands. Your right hands, dopey. Just that kind of...
That's just how the germ of an idea comes. You can develop it from there. I tell you what about... Will you do us, please, one of your classic routines, the ones that we've got to know and love? There's the one about the commander of the nuclear submarine.
Well, the submarine commander is... I was in the Army, but I think it's true of any large organization. It doesn't have to be government. It generally is, but it doesn't have to be government. Large corporations, a man tends to rise to a position 2 or 3 times above where he should be, that he's qualified. And I think that is the basis for the submarine commander, which is a story of a nuclear submarine had returned after a 2-year trip, and the commander stood up and kind of summed up the trip, and it went something like this.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bob Newhart.
Man, we're going to be servicing here in just a moment, and after 2 long years, you're going to be reunited with your loved ones, and in some cases, your wives. I just like to take a moment here to congratulate the cooks. I wish all you men, I wish you'd stand as one man, and I want to hear a giant here for the wonderful job the cooks have done. You men may not always appreciate. You men want to stand now for the cooks. Fellas, we're not going to surface until I hear it for the cooks. A little half-hearted, but that's definitely better. We're adding another illustrious page to the already illustrious history of the USS Codfish. I don't know how many of you men know this. The Codfish holds the record for the most Japanese tonnage sunk, being comprised of 4 freighters and 5 aircraft carriers. Unfortunately, most of these ships were sunk in 1954, when we were no longer at war with the Japanese. However, it stands as one of the largest peacetime tonnages ever. Oh, we've just been officially notified. We have cut a full 2 minutes off the previous record of 4 minutes and 29 seconds in surfacing, firing at the towed target, and then resubmerging. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to congratulate you men on the precision and teamwork you displayed at that time. At the same time, I don't in any way mean to slight the contribution made by the men we had to leave on deck. I think they in no small way had an awful lot to do with the 2 minutes we were able to cut off the record. And I doubt if any of us will soon forget their somewhat stunned expressions as we watch them through the periscope. Looking back on the mutiny, I think a lot of the trouble stemmed from the fact that you men weren't coming to me with your problems. As I tried to explain to you, the door to my office is always open. I think you know why it's always open. It was stolen, and I'd like it returned. We're going to be surfacing here in just a moment. I'd like to prevail upon you men as we break the water to just. There's no more impressive sight in the Navy than a submarine breaking water, and to see the men come rushing up out of the hole in the front. Hatch, very good. I've just been notified here by the navigator. He informs me we're going to be surfacing here in just a moment, and you men will be gazing once again on the familiar skyline of either New York City, or is that Buenos Aires? I can't make that out. Thank you very much, and dismissed, man. Thank you.
Well, after 25 years, my mascara still runs at that one. We shall be meeting Deborah Carr and Kirk Douglas soon, but for the moment, Bob Newhart, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.